I don't think so. I don't think we ever did it as an assistant either. And the beauty of our program and the good programs, we talk about this with the team a lot, is that there's usually good players ahead of you. And we use that in recruiting. And the sign of a healthy program and a quality program is usually that you have people to look to show the example, and you have to buy your time a little bit. And I know that's becoming less popular nowadays than it used to be, but I still think that's certainly been a recipe of our success. And specifically, our seniors that have been playing, Von Mout and Esther, are great examples of that. They all did that. They didn't play at all as freshmen. Esther didn't play in all the games. Vonnie didn't play in all the games. Mout came to us after a redshirt year, but her first year with us didn't play in all the games. And now we're relying mightily on those guys. And so that's normally the process. It's just with some of the injuries and some of the unforeseen ones from last year, I think that we have just a little bit different system this year. So I like our young kids. I like our transfers. They just we're still working to figure it all out.
All that being said, against a team that had 5 returning starters, physical, came in here not afraid of anything. You got the margin of victory has been similar to last year when you had a veteran team. So what does that tell you about this group that you threw out there today?
Yeah, I don't know if I was telling you earlier or if telling you yesterday, Vince, but I think we're going to be really good. And I think these are valuable. Christabel doesn't play 20 or 15 minutes normally. Vera wouldn't normally get that opportunity. Allie would not play 33 minutes. Neshi definitely wouldn't play 35 minutes if we were at our full health. And I think that once we do become full health, it's just going to be an advantage that we're going to have because they're getting the experience that, and that's probably my fault. I get a little gun shy. I rely on the people who have been around and who know what to do. And I think coaches trust like that. But they're getting experience that I wouldn't maybe be willing to hand out if we were at full health. So I think that it's a good thing. It's a similar thing that Kaylee and Zykira, those are two most notable that went through something like this when there were some injuries ahead of them and they had to end up playing a lot more. Now we have a whole team of them who are playing a lot more. But those guys, it was at their positions. We had Katie Campbell went down with an injury, and Emma Wolfram and Shaniqua Nillis went down with injuries when Z was a freshman. And so those guys, and they turned out to be pretty darn good. So I think it's going to be a nice positive down the line once we're either later this year or into the future of their career.
This 3-2 zone you went to, I didn't see the Cal games. Is this something you've been working on? Did they save it for today?
No, we've had it. We haven't had it in the package. I prefer man-to-man defense. I think that everybody knows that. We've always had it. Last year we ran a little 1-3-1. We have that. We just knew that they're a rhythm team with their motion offense, and so we wanted to figure out if there was A, if we got into foul trouble, which we did, and B, if we were having a hard time with the rhythm. Since they're not making a ton of threes so far this year, we just thought that it would be a nice way to change it up. And we didn't expect to be in it for the majority of the game, but it seemed to be a much better defense for us than the man. So it's just hard to defend 30 seconds of motion offense with 100 screens each possession. And so we wanted to avoid that if we could.
With the struggles offensively, it seemed your defense picked you up at some key times in this game. Talk a little bit about how big that was for you.
Yeah, you need to get stops. We can't run, you can't transition, and you can't run your sets, and you can't worry about clean offense if you don't get defensive stops. And that's a rebounding partially, and I think we limited them offensive rebounds decently. And they had only 6 that someone went up and got. Obviously, there was the other 2 that were team rebounds. So and just flying around, I think they're so strong inside. Ferdig is such a load. She's really good, and she's really tall, and they know how to get her the ball. And so you're just kind of at the will of if you remember to help or not. And a couple times we didn't remember to help, and so that's why the 2 was a better look for our defense, or whatever we call it, the 3-2, because we were guaranteeing we had help there. She was a huge priority for us. And obviously Melima had a great game. But we were really wanting to limit Fertig. She was coming in scoring 20 a game and getting 10 rebounds. And I know she got to her rebounds, but not to her points. And so I think that's what we needed. We needed to make the other ones try to make plays, put some permanent help side where it needed to be so that we didn't have to run the risk of forgetting something and then having them capitalize on that.
Offensively, too, when you really needed a bucket, you were able to get it to Yvonne, even if she was battling the foul with the Colby. That had to be a big emphasis late to get it to the person who's going to carry you.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted when we thought we had an advantage regardless of who they put on her defensively. It was Simons did a nice job and it made it a little bit more difficult to get her the ball at that time. But she, even still with Maddie on her, she picked up a couple fouls, and so you're kind of like, which you do if you're trying to guard Yvonne for 35 minutes. I don't know how you don't pick up fouls. But we were able to go to her in important times we needed it. I thought also Claire and Vera and Inesh and Allie all maybe knocked down. Did Allie have a 3? Yeah, they all knocked down some threes pretty timely. So Mount made an easy basket. We needed the whole team because it wasn't easy for Vaughn. They were hanging on her the whole time. And I know she ended up with scoring fine. But those other guys I thought stepped up nicely at times when we had gotten a couple stops and we needed to make a little run of our own. We're talking to those guys about believing in each other, believing in themselves, believing in us as coaches. We're talking, they're excited they're in a new stage. Bonnie was a leader last year for sure, but she also had a bunch of veterans around her. Mount was a secondary player last year, and Eliza had the best year she's had all year, and so did maybe Vonnie. And so Mount's minutes were, she got plenty of minutes, but it was a very different role. And so I think that as you mature in a program and you go through, you get to take on a different role. And so I think we're just trying to steady them and let them know they're great leaders. But sometimes when you think you're a great leader and then your team doesn't win, there's a little bit of confidence. And so we're just trying to build their confidence and make sure that they know that we're doing the right things. And none of us have been in this scenario exactly before. Like Vince alluded to, I've never had that many players who've never played at Gonzaga on the floor at one time. They've never had that many teammates who haven't played at Gonzaga before at one time. So, trusting the process. We're spending a lot of time in our locker room talking about turning one page at a time. You have to turn every page. You can't skip pages. And this team, if we were a well-oiled machine right now, we would have skipped a chapter or two. So we just can't expect to do that. We just have to go every day of practice and every day at a time and flip every page until we get to the end. And we're going to hopefully write a fairy tale by that time. Last year we relied on Eliza, who played really well against them. I have not seen them play so far this year. I've seen just their scores. I know they're playing well. They're another team. Every team that we played last year that we're playing again this year has more veterans than they had last year. So they graduated one who was good, but I think they have 4 starters back. They pressure. They turned us over a bunch on some silly things last year, so we definitely need to shore some of those up. And we'll turn our attention to the player who they graduated with is forward, so I don't know. Their best probably defensive forward, so I don't know who they have added in her place, and we'll figure out how we can hopefully be strong and keep a little bit of momentum going.
Any idea when reinforcements will arrive?
No. I'm told all the time that they're getting close. So Esther's in the protocol, so hers is the most standard. She's doing a lot better, so fingers crossed on her. Taylor's the next closest, probably. And we're hoping whenever they tell us that we can get her on minute restrictions and get her out there some, we'll take her just to start getting her acclimated a little bit. She's really smart, but it's hard to just be watching. You have to do a little bit of the time as a new player. And then, Bree, when Bree's ready and Lauren, they've experienced what we do. They know a lot of the plays. They know what the expectations are. So they'll be a little bit different easier to insert, but I think we need a little bit more time for T. So, hopefully soon, and maybe by our next game, but I don't know for sure.
Other than the word win, do you have one word that would describe what you got out of this game?
I would say maybe a little bit of belief. We're you tend to, even though they shouldn't, the 2 teams we lost to are very good. You shouldn't be down on yourself, but I don't know if we've ever been 1 and 2, to be honest with you. That might be a stat that Grace knows, but I don't know if we've ever been in that position. And so, and they all know that. They know the video that plays out before. And so I think that just when you lose a couple and you shook a little bit confidence-wise, I think that the belief or confidence will hopefully help us going forward to know that we're just fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it quite some. It's super different to other people's experiences. Obviously, they have an opportunity to step on into roles that you usually would step into in your sophomore or junior year, sometimes even senior year. So I think it's an opportunity for them to get experience right away, but that doesn't it also comes with frustration or like overwhelming feelings of just not knowing what to do. So I think like even the people that are out like on the sidelines that have experienced this culture, we're trying our best to just make them take a deep breath and like it's all part of the process. It's not gonna happen in one night. So I think we're doing a great job at keeping confidence in each other and building through it.
With that, Coach talked about focusing on possibility instead of expectations. What does that kind of look like practically for you guys?
Yeah, like kind of what I said, like, yeah, it's hard that you're in a new environment, in a new team, and one of a sudden you're playing 20 minutes, but it's also an opportunity for those girls to experience this in your first year at Gonzaga, like a full kennel almost, and being able to do that in an environment like this, I think it should be an opportunity and not a burden, if that makes sense, yeah.
As a point guard, you want to build chemistry with everybody on the court, and you're coming into a new situation, you've played other places. How is that process going as you're through 3 games now? How do you feel? Where do you feel you're at compared to when you tipped it off at the first game of the year?
Yeah, well, it's a process, like you said. There are going to be tough games and practices, and the first game is always an exhibition, so it's always like to let everything off. And it's kind of hard because it's like a new role for me. Like she said, I have more opportunities and more possibilities to just build on it every day. So last 2 games, I was kind of in a funk, let's say, and just building on that, learning from our mistakes and our losses. Sometimes they're way better than a win, and it's all a process.
What did you learn today?
I learned that how to bounce back, from 2 tough games and not really helping the team on what I was supposed to do. So just bouncing back to what I'm supposed to do to help the team. Maybe not on the box score, but like leadership-wise.
Not
Yeah.
on the box score as she has.
Well, yeah,
Let me-
I'm saying last games. The last games.
Anyone else? All good? All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.